Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video. Today I have got an awesome what's for dinner video for you. I've got 7 family dinner ideas and there is an awesome variety here. I've got some keto recipes as well as 2 slow cooker recipes, so you're not going to want to miss this. Let's get started.
All right, so we are starting out with a slow cooker meal. This is a fiesta chicken chili. Here are the ingredients you'll need. I will type all of this out in the description box below. I shared a little bit of this recipe in my last weekend prep video, but I wanted to share it in more detail here. So what I'm starting with is my slow cooker, and I'm putting some chicken breasts in here. These are still a little bit partially frozen, but I'm gonna go ahead and cook this on high for 4 hours. You could also cook it on low for 8. I'm putting in 1 can of drained corn, a can of diced tomatoes, some beans, and some hot sauce. You could also use Rotel if you wanted to. I'm going to put in 2 cloves worth of minced garlic and then some chicken broth. I'm just going to give this a quick stir to make sure that the chicken is not stuck to the bottom of the crock pot, and then we'll add our seasoning. So I'm adding some dried dill, some salt. I'll also add some cumin and some salt and pepper. This is sort of a play on a recipe that I've seen before online that uses a ranch seasoning packet, but I sort of adapted this when I didn't have any ranch seasoning on hand, and I actually like it a little bit better. I think it's a little bit more fresh tasting. So once the seasonings are in, I'm just going to give that again another good stir, and then you can pop the lid on and go ahead and cook this all day long. So when it's time for dinner, you want to take the chicken breasts out and shred them. So you can see here that my 4 chicken breasts are in there. I'm just going to remove them with some tongs and then shred them on a plate. Now, I did cook 1 extra chicken breast in here because I wanted to reserve it for some quesadillas, but I'm going to go ahead and shred 3 and put those back in. But first I'm going to add some cream cheese. This kind of makes it taste like a chicken chili queso. It doesn't make it super heavy, so don't worry about that. The 1 package of cream cheese is not enough to make it super heavy tasting. And then I'm also going to add 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese, and this works best if you can soften the cream cheese ahead of time if it's at room temperature. So just whisk that in and let that sit while you shred the chicken. It will look a little clumpy at first, but as it cooks, that will go away. So I'm just using my tongs to shred the chicken. You can see how easily that tears apart, and then I'll add the chicken back into the broth and give it a stir. You can garnish this any way that you want. You can put tortilla chips on top of it. Usually we top ours with some fresh chopped cilantro. I think that's really good. Maybe a little bit of extra shredded cheese. You could do tomatoes, onions, and we had some tortilla chips on ours as well. Would definitely recommend that. It's delicious. Today's What's for Dinner video is sponsored by Green Chef, and I'm excited to be working with them again this year. If you're not familiar with Green Chef, they are a meal delivery kit. They are a USDA certified organic company, and they have dishes for a variety of lifestyles, including vegan, vegetarian, paleo, and keto. The recipe I'm going to be making tonight is the Monterey Jack beef patties, and oh, you guys, these turned out so good. We love them. Adam couldn't stop talking about them, and I love them as well. I made these after work for dinner one night, and it was so convenient. I didn't even have to think about what I was going to make for dinner. I just pulled all of the ingredients out of the bag and cooked it. So the box I'm cooking out of tonight is the keto box, but like I said, they have a ton of variety no matter what diet that you're on. They do let you choose from a wide variety of easy to follow recipes. A lot of the recipes are quick, and they have recipe cards with step-by-step instructions and photos to guide you along. We have never been disappointed by our Green Chef meals. The flavor combinations that they come up with and their seasonings and sauces are so delicious. So what you saw me doing there was just seasoning up the ground beef. They included this really good cumin oregano seasoning for the burgers. I chopped up some pepitas that were in the bag, and then I'm going to make the slaw. So they included pre-washed, pre-cut slaw mix, which is awesome. I put the chopped up pumpkin seeds in there, and then I'm adding some of this chili lime aioli, so good, to the slaw, along with some salt, some pepper, and some olive oil, and I'm going to give that a stir and just let it sit while I cook the rest of the meal. One thing I like about meal kits like Green Chef is that when you order these, you don't even have to think about eating a healthier meal. Everything is prepackaged for you, and so all you have to do is open it up and follow the directions. For someone who is a super busy working mom like me, it makes it so convenient and fast to get a meal on the table at night after work. So for my beef patties, I went ahead and formed those, and I'm just frying them up in a skillet for about 3 to 4 minutes on each side. I remove them to a tray with foil, top them with the Monterey Jack cheese, and I'm going to broil those until the cheese melts. While those are broiling, I'm going to chop up my zucchini. So the other thing I wanted to mention is that Green Chef always includes a ton of food. You're never going to go hungry. They're always super generous portions. So here are the burgers after they came out of the broiler. I went ahead and sauteed the zucchini on both sides, seasoned those with some red pepper flake and salt and pepper. And here it was the completed dish, that slaw with the burger and the zucchini. So good. If you guys have been waiting to try Green Chef, now is definitely the time. Green Chef is giving my viewers $90 off across their first 5 boxes, plus you get free shipping on your first box. I'll have the link in the description box below, but you can go to greenchef.us/JenChapin90 and use code JenChapin90 to get $90 off, including free shipping on your first box. So make sure you check that out. You will not regret it. Again, it's greenchef.us/JenChapin90. All right, so next up for dinner, I am going to make some pecan chicken along with baked potatoes and green beans and some cucumber sandwiches. So I'm starting out by seasoning my baked potatoes. I have some russet potatoes that I washed here. I have them on a baking tray. I just like to drizzle those with a little bit of olive oil, season them with salt, and then I will bake those in the oven, usually at 400 or 425 for about an hour will do the trick. Just keep an eye on them. Make sure that you don't overcook them or they will get a little bit tough. You just want to cook them until they are tender throughout. So for this recipe, I don't have a link to it because it's something that I saw in a magazine and I just kind of tried to recreate. So I'll try to find something similar and link it down below. But basically I had some chicken breast and I sauteed that in a pan, and I made a little bit of a pan sauce with some honey butter and some chopped pecans and some shallots. So I have this honey butter here. I just mixed up softened butter with some honey, and then I chopped up some pecans and added that to there, and you'll see a little bit later that I'm going to top the chicken with that once it is cooked. So here are my 4 chicken breasts. I'm just sauteing those on either side, and then I also had some fresh green beans. I am boiling those with a little bit of chicken broth and some shallot and some bacon. So now I'm going to make some cucumber sandwiches, and I can go ahead and link a recipe for this, but I'm beating up some cream cheese and I'll show you how to assemble those a little bit later. But after the chicken was cooked on both sides, I added some wine and some chicken broth to deglaze the pan, topped those chicken breasts with the pecan honey butter, and let that simmer for about 20 minutes. So for the cucumber sandwiches, I did not show the whole part where I was mixing up the cream cheese mixture, but basically I mixed up some cream cheese, a little bit of mayo, and some seasonings, dill, Italian seasoning, salt, and pepper. And then you can get these little cocktail rye bread squares at the grocery store. Typically they're in like the deli meat section. I spread the cream cheese on there, topped it with a cucumber slice, and then sprinkled it with a little bit of dill. These are so good and they make a great appetizer. And then here's what we had for dinner: baked potatoes with the pecan chicken and green beans. So good. All right, so next up we're making some lemon chicken and potatoes. And what I'm doing here is just chopping up some yellow potatoes and some Brussels sprouts. I'm going to roast those together on a pan in the oven. Everyone in my family isn't necessarily super thrilled with Brussels sprouts. About half of us like them. So if I roast them up with some potatoes, then it's just enough for everyone who wants them, and the rest of the people can just have potatoes. So I season these with olive oil, salt, and pepper. And then I like to turn the Brussels sprouts and potatoes over so that the flesh side is down. I think that helps them roast a little bit better. Next, I'm going to chop up a red onion, and this is going to go into the skillet with the chicken. This is also another meal from that Green Chef box. It also turned out really good. So I'm going to slice this red onion, and then I'll end up sauteing that in a pan with some cabbage. One thing I was also going to mention too that you can use these Green Chef boxes for is meal prep, especially if you're doing a specialized diet like vegan, vegetarian, paleo, keto, I can't talk. You can get these boxes and prep these meals ahead of time so that you have healthy lunches throughout the week. I've done that before so many times and it's a great option. I'm seasoning my chicken breast with salt and pepper on either side. I always like to do that before I cook it to make sure that it has a lot of flavor. And once again, Green Chef always has the best seasoning combinations, and they always include a generous amount of seasoning. So I'm just sprinkling that onto both sides of the chicken breast. And I actually really like that they leave the salt out of the seasoning packets, because then I can add my own and control the level of salt that we like on our food. So I sauteed the cabbage mixture and the red onions together in a skillet. And when that was done, I added the chicken breast, and I'll just saute that on either side. This doesn't have to cook through. It's going to go straight into the oven and finish cooking. They also included this sort of lemon cream sauce to put over the chicken. So delicious. I sprinkled that in, or squeezed that in rather, along with some water, and then gave that a stir and added my veggies back in. And then all I'm going to do is pop that into the oven with the potatoes and the Brussels sprouts. And that was dinner on this night. So here was that chicken. It doesn't necessarily look very impressive, but trust me, it was really good. Okay, so next up, I'm making some baked sausage gnocchi, and this was another recipe that I saw in a magazine, and I actually substituted ground beef. I forgot that until just now, so sorry. You could also use Italian sausage, but I am boiling some gnocchi, and you saw me there sauteing up some ground beef, and I added some marinara sauce to that. When the ground beef mixture was done with the marinara, I just put a splash of half and half in there just to make the sauce a little bit creamier, and I stirred that around, and then I will add the cooked gnocchi to the skillet along with the marinara sauce, and then top that with a little bit of mozzarella cheese and bake it in the oven. If your family is tired of eating the same old baked pasta or pasta dishes, definitely try this out because it's a great change from that. Next up, I'm going to work on some garlic bread. So I have one of these take and bake loaves of garlic bread. Actually, it's not garlic bread, it's just regular bread. And I'm going to cut that in half with my bread knife. Be careful. Do not cut yourself. Do not ask me why I know that. Yes, I've cut myself cutting bread before, at least twice. And then I'm using this Chef Chamois garlic butter. I get this at Sam's Club. It's really, really good. And I put that onto the bread and baked it. Here is that gnocchi when it came out of the oven. So good. I just baked it long enough to make sure everything was heated through and the cheese was melted, but we had that with some broccoli on the side and some garlic bread. That was a delicious dinner. Okay, so next up, I'm making some Italian beef sandwiches. So this is another Crockpot meal. For this, I have 2 small pot roasts. I have some pepperoncini, some beef broth, about 2 cups of that. I'll also be using some salt and some pepper. You'll also need some fresh rosemary for this recipe. I will link this recipe down below. It's a Pioneer Woman recipe. And then to assemble the sandwiches, you'll need some provolone cheese and some rolls. So to my slow cooker, I am adding 2 of those chuck roasts. These were smaller ones, that's why I had to buy 2. And then I'm going to season those very liberally with salt and pepper. You have to remember when you're making dishes like this that the meat is in very large pieces, so make sure that you season it well. I'm adding in some pepperoncini, and then I'm going to mince up some rosemary. So the traditional Italian beef usually uses a dressing packet, like an Italian seasoning packet. I personally think that this version tastes way better. I have made Italian beef so many times, and this is definitely my favorite way to do it. So I went ahead and put my seasonings in there along with the beef, and then I almost forgot to put the beef broth in and saw it sitting on the counter. I was like, oh, I need to add that. So I added that to the slow cooker. And same with this recipe, you can cook it on low for 8 hours or high for 4 hours. I was cooking it all day, so I cooked it on low. When it's done, you can remove the liquid and shred the meat. You'll know that it's done when it shreds very, very easily like this. If you try to shred it and it doesn't shred right away, that means that you probably haven't cooked it long enough. I put my broth into a fat separator so I could drain some of the fat off, and then I'm just putting the broth back into the slow cooker with the meat along with a few of the pepperoncinis, and then I'll keep that warm. Here are the sandwiches. We put some provolone cheese on top and broiled them. So good.
Okay guys, so I hope that you enjoyed all of these dinner ideas. If you plan on trying any of them, please let me know which one or ones you're going to try. Thanks again to Green Chef for sponsoring today's video. I'm so excited to be working with them again in 2021 because I truly do love their meal kits. Their flavors are incredible and you will never be disappointed. They have tons of options for any kind of diet. So if you want to check them out, the link will be down below. You can go to greenchef.us/JenChapin90 and you can get $90 off your first 5 boxes plus free shipping on your first box. So make sure you take advantage of that. Thanks again for being here and as always for your support, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.